Star Wars 7x7 episode 2673. So the Bring Home the Bounty event that we were talking about last week, where we learned a little bit of new information here and there, I mean, not a heck of a lot. Well, kind of the same deal with this situation, but it was supplemented by Hasbro PulseCon, where they revealed a whole bunch of new Hasbro stuff, and we got a whole bunch of new product descriptions, at least one of which seems to be giving a wink at Mandalorian Season 3. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So I'll start with the Hasbro PulseCon situation by saying that they announced a new Obi-Wan Kenobi figure, but not a new Cassian Andor figure. Yeah, so I'm going to go into the teeth of that once again and suggest that it's Kenobi first and Andor second. Now, on the off chance that we were going to learn something potentially about Obi-Wan as he's going to appear in the Kenobi series, I checked out the description and there's nothing relevant to that necessarily, aside from just his backstory in general. And in fact, this action figure that they're going to be releasing is based on his appearance in Attack of the Clones. So if you've ever wanted a mullet-tastic Obi-Wan Kenobi, then he's going to be available soon. This is what it says about him. Legendary Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi was a noble man gifted in the ways of the Force. He trained Anakin Skywalker and served as a general in the Republic Army. So yeah, just a little bit of backstory doesn't tell us very much. But for the heck of it, I went deeper into the Hasbro archives to see if I could find a Cassian Andor figure, and I did. And this is what it says about him. It says Captain Cassian Andor commands respect from his rebel troops with his ability to keep a cool head under fire and complete his missions with minimal resources. Now, I was glad I went and dug that up because it's kind of fun and it kind of gives you an idea of, that's the sort of thing that the Andor series could be like, just sending him out with nothing but his wits and, maybe a small canister of tools or something. I don't know. You get the idea, though, just that this definitely positions him as a certain kind of rebel agent and could have implications for the series. Maybe. And since we're speculating, I also pulled the Mace Windu description too. And it says, a grim Jedi Master, Mace Windu was a champion of the Jedi Order with little tolerance for the Senate, arguments of politicians, or opinions of rebellious Jedi. So that'll be something to keep in mind for 2025 when it turns out that Kevin Feige's movie is actually a Mace Windu movie. Anyway, so among the interesting reveals includes a Corvus action figure. So some of the action figures get named based on the planet where they appeared. So there's an Ahsoka Tano Corvus action figure. That's where we see her in The Mandalorian in Chapter 13, The Jedi. And there's nothing new there. It's that same description that we talked about previously about how she's a wandering Jedi and so on and so forth. But because of this, and because of just looking at these other descriptions, I decided to go a little bit further back and see whether there were other descriptions about other Ahsoka Tano figures. And it turns out there is. So there's one that's basically kind of similar, and it's, across two different figures got mashed up, so I'm gonna, put it all together for you. Ahsoka Tano, the Padawan to Anakin Skywalker and hero of the Clone Wars. It's a Gruta female, grew from headstrong student into mature leader, but her destiny lay along a different path than the Jedi. So clearly that's just a general Clone Wars one. But there's a Mandalore version of her figure, and it says, on Mandalore, Ahsoka Tano faced Darth Maul, clashing lightsabers in the throne room of the capital city. Ultimately, she was able to turn his own weapon against him. And then we move on to the Corvus figure, which just, for completism's sake, a Clone Wars veteran and now wandering Jedi, Ahsoka Tano forges her own path in the galaxy, righting injustices that she discovers. And then speaking of characters who are going to be leading series in the future, there's also a Boba Fett action figure, a new one. And this one says, once regarded as one of the most fearsome bounty hunters in the galaxy, Boba Fett seemingly met his demise in the Sarlacc pit. A survivor to his core, Boba Fett lived to fight another day. And that's that. So there have also been a lot of other figures announced, but not product descriptions coming with all of them. A couple that did include Cobb Vanth, he's getting a figure, and it doesn't necessarily give us any hints about whether he might be coming back. It just says, the Marshal of Mos Pelgo, a small town on Tatooine, Cobb Vanth has earned the trust of the townsfolk as a capable peacekeeper and leader. So that's all this is about him. There is more about Cad Bane, because there are actually sort of two Cad Bane figures, one by himself and one with the robot that we saw in the Bad Batch, total 360. So one of the things that says about Cad Bane is this. Using an impressive arsenal of weapons and allies, the cold, cruel, and calculating Cad Bane would literally track his prey to the ends of the galaxy if required. And then it goes on with another figure, the Toto 361. Cad Bane was the preeminent blaster for hire in the galaxy during the Clone Wars. Toto 360 had many built-in gadgets that made him incredibly useful, but he also had an attitude to match. Yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of Cad Bane. I think season 2 of the Bad Batch, we're probably gonna see him again. Coming next year. We'll see. All right, the last one I want to share with you is the one that I mentioned at the top has a potential wink to season 3 of The Mandalorian. This is for the Vintage Collection Death Watch Mandalorian. Now I read that and I was like, a Death Watch Mandalorian? Okay, this feels more like a Clone Wars situation. And so this is what it has to say about that. Warrior clans of Mandalore were believed to have been wiped out ages ago, but they were resurrected, and with them, their combat armor that was feared across the galaxy. All right, so it sounds like, yeah, maybe it could be Clone Wars related. Maybe this is, you know, the resurrecting of Death Watch that we saw in those story arcs. But here's the thing. In the rest of the description, it says that this is a figure inspired by Star Wars The Mandalorian. It doesn't say it's inspired by Star Wars The Clone Wars. Like, for example, say, you know, that Obi-Wan Kenobi figure I talked about says it's inspired by Star Wars Attack of the Clones. They're pretty specific about what they say these things are inspired by and where they're coming from. So the fact that the Death Watch Mandalorian figure is being linked to the Mandalorian TV show, well, I mean, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? I mean, I know Bo-Katan is supposed to be the quote-unquote last of her line, but we know that Axe and Casca were with her, so even though she's the last of her line, she's certainly not alone, and at some point she was associated with Death Watch, so yeah, some very interesting potential for season 3. And that right there, along with everything else, is what I have for you for today's episode. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.